The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated. Welcome back to the Nova Society, a space where dialogue deepens understanding and civic responsibility comes to life. I'm Dr. Mark Bound, joined by our regular panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon. Together, we'll unpack the stories that matter most, exploring the headlines, the history, and the big ideas shaping today's conversations. Let's dive in and hear what the panel has for us today.
So today we have a question from Tricia, who comes to us from Jersey City, New Jersey. And Tricia writes, I recently saw that this Greenland debacle is starting to escalate. Germany is deploying 2 warships to Greenland, and the EU is discussing establishing a 100,000-strong joint military force. Why do you think Europe is taking these actions, and what might the consequences be, if any, for the United States if the European Union stays this course? Are they standing up to us, their ally? And now we are threatening to attack Iran. What the hell is going on? What indeed the hell is going on? Are we doomed to be constantly at war with someone? Excellent questions, Tricia. Yeah, it would seem that we are doomed to be constantly at war with someone, including our own
If you don't get the Nobel Peace Prize, maybe you go for the Nobel War Prize?
Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah. I'm thinking.
Yeah. Mark and Scott, thank you, Tricia.
Let's do Greenland first and get it out of the way, and then we probably could have a real serious conversation about what's going on in Iran.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, we could do. Yeah, let's get Greenland out of the way. Yeah. Now, let's also remind the viewers that now we have a president, President Donald J. Trump, who's the president of the United States. He's also the acting president of Venezuela.
Right. That's a first.
Yeah.
Which is a first.
Viceroy Stephen Miller, is it? He wanted to put
Viceroy,
Stephen Miller in charge?
Yeah, Vice Count of Evil, Stephen Miller, whatever. But yeah, okay.
Whatever it is.
So let's do Greenland.
A little bizarre. So I've heard a theory that because Greenland looks so big on the map, that Trump looks at a map and goes, "Oh my God, what is that? I gotta have that." Which does kind of seem like it's in keeping with his character. He covets things. He likes them big. I mean, there's certainly nothing that we couldn't get in Greenland from just asking politely that we would possibly, right? I mean, if we were like, hey man, we need to start mining rare earth minerals in Greenland, they'd probably say, well, I mean, make us an offer and we'll give you the rights to whatever land you need to go do that. And you want to set up a plant to do the processing, we'll do that as well. We've already had, Lord knows, enough military bases there. They have been abandoned, but they're still there. Nobody else has moved into them. So we can do that. There's no chance that we couldn't keep China and Russia away. That was his new thing. That if we don't occupy them, China or Russia will. That I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, Denmark has about 600 soldiers in Greenland, I think, ready to fight if they need to, and certainly that would trigger a NATO reaction. So we probably would be coming in on the side of Denmark if Russia and China ever tried to invade it, which I don't think there's any evidence that they even have the desire to do that. So really, when you get right down to it, it really could actually just be the size of the place. And I mean, it's like, I think 75% of it is just ice. There's not much there at all, but it looks so big on the map. Trump has to have it. And he actually even said that it was a psychological difference between having a military base on another person's country than having a military base in your own country. And that should include Greenland. So I don't know what else to say about that. It's a little bizarre.
I did find it interesting that yes, Germany is sending 2 warships. We'll see what happens with that. Again, for what purpose are they sending them? Probably just to be there. gives another barrier for the United States to actually, if we decided to invade Greenland, now you got to go through the Germans, and geez, you probably don't want to shoot at them, because now you're shooting at a really an ally, and that's a problem. There's just so much with this that we have to try to figure out. I like the comment that I don't like having Russia that close to us as a neighbor. So my question to Mr. Trump is, you complete moron, you do realize that there's Alaska and there's only the Bering Strait, which is what, I think 12 or 18 miles away. Matter of fact, of all the countries in Europe or in Asia, Russia is the closest to us, like 18 miles. I mean, it's not like that big of a deal. So yeah, it makes no sense. And like Scott pointed out, if we asked nicely, the Dutch are, or the Danes are pretty nice. They'll say, yeah, okay, they'll find a way to make a little bit of money out of it too, which they should. It's their area, no problem there. This is not the first time that we've approached, getting Greenland. It has happened twice before, and basically it's been rejected. And the people of Greenland don't want it. And I saw Trump on the news today, and they were saying that the premier of Greenland said that he does not want him in. And Trump goes, I don't even know who that guy is. And it's like, okay, so, he's wrong. I guess we'll have to see. And he's the premier of Greenland, you moron. Come on, cut it out. So Greenland, it baffles me.
And here's another. So Trump also said, I don't think they landed some boats there 500 years ago, so that gives them claim to the land.
Yeah.
Actually, when we acquired the Virgin Islands from Denmark, we traded away any claim that we had to Greenland in that transaction. And between you and me, I'm much more happy that we have the Virgin Islands.
Yep.
One of which, St. John's, I've been to many times and love like no other place on earth. That it is a paradise. Yes. And I am very happy that we have that and we can go to it and go to Waterlemon Key and go snorkeling, and it's beautiful. And to give up Greenland for that, great deal. Whoever did that, I think it was Woodrow Wilson did it. Great deal.
Yeah, we definitely got the long end of the stick there. I'll take the Virgin Islands over Greenland anytime. All right, so what else? Oh, we're talking about Iran.
Yeah.
Can I just add one thing about
Sure.
Greenland? Sorry, it's one point that this involves Canada. Trump has been pushing Mark Carney to allow for extraction of Canadian uranium and other rare earth minerals and rare earth this and that and the other. And Carney's been saying no, and simply no. And this has been going on. I believe Trump has pressured him at minimum 4 times. And Carney is simply saying no. And so that is something that Trump has not been advertising for obvious reasons, because he's not getting anywhere. And so it's just very interesting how acquisitive Trump is. And I've also heard about the map, that Greenland looks so huge and tempting, and I guess Trump's busy little fingers have to grab everything that he's like a child, and somebody else has a nice toy and he wants this particular toy.
Brooke, that's a great point. But the fact is that, he's looking at a Decatur map, a Decatur projection. If he was to look at a Peterson projection, which is more true and puts things really where they are and shows actually what the size of these things are, Greenland isn't that big. It is not. I mean, if you look at the Decatur projection, Greenland looks like it's bigger than Africa. It's not. It's the Peterson projection that basically shows the true size of Greenland and the true position and the true size of countries on the map. And the fact is that it's not even close. So yeah, if for whatever reason, if he wants Greenland because it's so big, maybe because that'll give him something that is big. I don't know. Yeah, he's barking up the wrong tree because Greenland just is not as big as he thinks it is. All right, let's hit Iran. What do you think, Scott?
Well, look, I think it's a wonderful thing that the people are stepping up and fighting for their land. I mean, they've been under the Islamic rule there for a long time, since 1979. They don't do well. It is not living up to its potential as a nation. Whereas I think that we should be careful about how we address it and not have too big a footprint on it. I think that we should help the opposition in their quest to take their country back from the Ayatollahs and the Islamic Republic.
And when I was thinking about this, my first thought was how destabilizing will this make to the region? And I just noticed it came across my screen earlier today when we were starting our talk, that the base in Qatar, they are beginning to take all non-essential personnel out of. There's 10,000 military personnel in the U.S. base in Qatar, and they are suggesting that those personnel, a good portion of them, be removed for their safety. So that tells me that somebody's thinking about doing something. I also want, people do need to remember the Shah of Iran was not a very good choice at all back when he was replaced. And guess who put him there? We did. We did that. And the people thought that this Islamic Republic was a better idea than the Shah. Now, not having lived there and only heard, basically, stories about what was going on back then, because let's face it, I was just getting out of high school when all this was going on. They really thought that this was a better alternative, and they have lived with it since 79, and that's a very long time. It's almost 50 years when we think about it, that they've been like this. And as Scott points out, it hasn't really worked out very well for them. And I think I agree with Scott. We don't want a big footprint because we want them to make sure that they're selecting what they want. They selected the Islamic Republic because we didn't want it. That's what we didn't want. So, it's just like a kid. I'm going to do it just because you don't want me to do it. And because you gave us that last one that was really bad, the Shah. So I think that, we support them. We support them very quietly, very covertly. And we let them do whatever it is they want to do so that they can make the informed decision that works for their people. And I think that if they were allowed to make a good decision and a good, responsible decision as it relates to their country, I think that would be great for the entire region. I mean, that would take one of the real problems off the board when it comes to places like, Israel, when it comes to places like the Gaza Strip, when it comes to all these other organizations that, these terrorist organizations that the current regime backs up. This would be big. This could be huge for the region. Yeah, Brooke.
What do you know about the Shah's son? I had heard that his potentially being a replacement leader, but that's the only person that I've heard floated, and I don't know how.
I'm not buying it.
I'm not buying that one.
No.
That sounds just like the guy who said that he had popular support in Iraq and Afghanistan and these kind of. No good for me. No, I mean, again, that's like, propping up a leader there would be a huge mistake. Having any kind of presence there. Now, forgive me for saying this is a little warlike, but I wouldn't mind seeing Israel send a team in there and taking out like the head of the Republican Guard or something along those lines, a targeted strike on some of the more virulent leadership of Iran, the current government there, to make sure that it doesn't become like a police state, another type of police state, maybe a non-Islamic police state, or a failed state, or one that descends into chaos. Or I see obviously we've all seen bad things happen in Libya, and we saw horrible things happen in Lebanon,
Syria.
Yeah, Syria, right? We don't want to see either in Venezuela or in Iran. We don't want to see these become huge places full of chaos and violence and civil war and all that kind of stuff. But we do need to back out of it and allow the people to do what they need to do, support them if we can without being overwhelming, and having a very, very well thought out role to play there, which is extremely limited.
Exactly. Because if history doesn't tell us anything, we have been very bad at picking leaders for other countries. Hell, it shows we're pretty bad at picking leaders for our country so far. Yeah, I mean, come on. And I kind of go back to one in this little far back, the Marshall Plan after World War II. We were heavily involved because of all the rebuilding that had to be done in Japan, after the two bombs being dropped, and in Germany, which had been bombed back into the Stone Age. We were heavily involved in, getting those nations back onto their feet. We do very well with that. Now, we did promote a democratic society in both of them. We promoted it, but we didn't push it. If you look at the way the Marshall Plan was laid out and the way it was conducted, there was just that suggestion. And both of those nations basically took the idea of democracy and a democratic, and they tailored it to what worked for them, which was great. The Germans didn't bring back the Kaiser, but the Japanese kept the emperor. And it's still, the whole thing still worked. But when we try to force something on somebody, force a leader, this is your guy, this is the guy you got to take to make us happy, usually that never works out well. And it's been shown so many times in our history how bad we are at making these selections and making, what we consider to be nation building and democracy and freedom building turns out to be oppressive to the people that are actually living there. Because we're really good at going in and saying, okay, this is your guy, like the Shah, here's your guy. And then you never see us again. You never hear from, in a meaningful way. You never hear from us again. And we have to avoid that because we're not doing a service to any country that we do that to.
Yeah. So the name Irfan Sultani comes up. He is apparently going to be the first protester that the regime there executes to send a message to the others. And of course, we know that Trump has said, if you start hanging people, we're gonna get more involved. He hasn't really been specific about what he's going to do. But again, I think doing as little as possible while at the same time supporting the protesters there and helping them in whatever way we can overthrow their government and take control of the country, we need to do. This protest has to succeed where protests over the last few years have failed. Again, this seems like more the kind of thing that Israel does well rather than the United States. We have a tendency to be a little heavy-handed and drop really big bombs and kill a lot of people and destroy a lot of things rather than, go in and hit the right people to make something good happen.
You know what, Scott? Something you just said, it just hit me, and I'm gonna bring it to you. The President of the United States says, if you execute people that are protesting against the government, we're going to get involved. Isn't that what happened in Minnesota?
Yeah.
So isn't there a bit of a hypocrisy there to that? How, if you're protesting us, you're fair game. Isn't that exactly what he's accusing Iran of doing and saying, we're not going to stand for it? But guess what, Americans? We stand for it if it's here. It just hit me when you said that. That thought hit me of how hypocritical that was for the President of the United States at this point, especially this President of the United States that says, they're going against the bad government, and it's the people's rights to go against, and they should be able to protest, and they should be able to change the government and all that, except when it comes to me.
Yeah, well, that's because he never makes a mistake, and he's wonderful and marvelous. And everybody or anyone who doesn't understand that is a left-wing lunatic radical terrorist, domestic terrorist, who is a paid agitator who clearly doesn't understand what is good for him or her, and he is the only one who knows what's right for everyone. Oh no, that is certainly, that leaps out as being complete hypocrisy, that a person here cannot protest peacefully and sit in a vehicle with a whistle, do nothing, and be murdered, while Trump encourages people elsewhere to overthrow their own government. I mean, it's he doesn't understand, of course, that the hypocrisy that he is leveling is, I'm sure that's beyond his intellectual capacity to understand.
He has stopped 8 wars.
Yeah.
So this adds another like 20 to that tally.
Exactly. I mean, we are so lucky. All this winning is killing me. It's just killing me, all this winning.
Are we doomed to be constantly at war with someone? I would say yes, because Trump has a pugilistic personality, and he does have a personality disorder. So there has to be someone who is at fault constantly. He has to have an enemy, and dictators typically are paranoid. And if there is no enemy, they will create one, because they somewhere, maybe on some level, they recognize that they're not popular. So they will be afraid of their own people.
What? Another aspect, there's another aspect of this. Mark likes to talk all the time about how the British screwed so much stuff up. I was just thinking that, and I think it was Churchill, when he was the Secretary of the Navy, or whatever they call it over there, who decided that British warships should use oil instead of coal to fuel them. That created the need for, a global oil boom, formed the company British Petroleum, BP, still around today, and began that succession of rulers that we could rely on to provide first the British and then the Americans with plenty of oil, so that we could, keep our economies going. I mean, just like one more thing that we're paying for today, that was a decision made by the imperialists back in the early part of the 20th century.
Yes, and please let's be very clear. We really enjoy our British listeners, which we have a whole bunch of them. So we're just blaming Churchill.
Right. He did a lot of good stuff too, but
did a lot of yeah. And that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We want to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing team, Apple Podcasts, the largest source of podcast and music online, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your destination for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. And most importantly, we want to thank you, our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society could not be possible. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing on the platform of your choice. It's easy, it's free, and helps our channel grow. For questions or comments, you can reach us at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So on behalf of Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershworth, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power of society is knowledge. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again next time.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening!